There we go.
There we go. Did anyone hear me? It doesn't matter. That's what happens when you put on lipstick. Nothing else matters. Good evening, everybody. My name is Carol Kozak Ward. For those of you who I do not yet know, I am so glad that you are here joining us this evening for the fifth night of Chanukah, whether you are in Colorado or elsewhere, and by elsewhere, thank you, Mimi, beyond Wyoming. You represent multiple locations and multiple time zones. And with this, I can't believe I'm saying this, our fifth LChaim of 2020 and final LChaim of 2020. We are so glad that you are part of this program. We've been to so far Tel Aviv, we've been to Morocco, we've been to India, we've been to the fictional Anatevka, and tonight we're back in Israel to sing some songs for Chanukah. And we are also here on our Zoom link, as well as on Facebook, and being recorded. Although, if you do sing along, you'll probably want to mute yourself. So with that, I am going to allow my friend and colleague, Leah Peer, the founder and music director of Kol Nashim, the Colorado Hebrew Chorale's women's choir, to take things from here. Erev Tov, and take it away, Leah.
Thank you, Erev Tov. So this was a fun project for me, and we're going to do, it's a little bit of a biographical survey of Hanukkah songs. My family made Aliyah twice, and so we're going to start with the first Hanukkah song that I remember. I know that we made Aliyah in December of 1961. I know this because my brother turned 2 on the ship. And so I was around 3.5, and we were plopped into kibbutz classes in kibbutz Gesher Aziv. And of course, since it was December, we were preparing the Hanukkah program, and I spoke no Hebrew. So I was the girl who slept on the bed and had a dream. And in my dream, the Maccabees were marching and they were singing this song. And I'm sure that you will recognize the melody of this song. Once you hear it, it was not until many, many, many years later that I found out that it was not an original Israeli song, but the composer was somebody else very famous. It was interesting, though, as I looked for Hanukkah songs, and if you look for Hanukkah songs in Hebrew, it's interesting the difference between American Hanukkah songs and Israeli Hanukkah songs, because whereas we rejoice every year to have the new release from 613 or the Maccabees, and which popular song are they going to set Hanukkah words to? For Israelis, Hanukkah song is the oldies but goodies. And I don't know if any new Hanukkah songs have been written. My daughter was at a family Hanukkah Hanukkah party, and they sang some of the songs that we have on the list tonight. So we're going to start. I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully you have a song sheet if it's more convenient, because I also looked for some YouTubes for you. All of them have illustrations of some sort or another. Some of them are pretty wonderful old videos and songs of the beautiful land of Israel. So the song is about lifting up our torches, and together we sing a Hanukkah song. So I will go over the words briefly, and I am not going to teach you the melody, because as soon as the video starts to play, and it's a fairly recent video, by which I mean it's only 20 years old, you will recognize the melody and know how to adapt these words to the melody. So, Hava Narima Nes Va'avuka. Nes means miracle, but it also means torch. And so, Hava Narima Nehes Va'avuka. Your turn. Hava Narima Nehes Va'avuka. Please make sure you're muted. Yachad Po Nashira. Yahachad po nashira. Here you go. Yahachad po nashira. Final word. Shir ha-Chanukah. Just anybody figure out the carol? Don't give it away. Anybody figure out the melody yet? Oh, you'll bang yourself on the head. Here we go. Just this first section. Hava narima nehes v'ha'avuka yahachad po nashira shir ha-Chanukah. Okay, B section. Maccabim anachnu. We are Maccabees. Digleinu, our flag. Ram nachon. Mahakahabim anachnu. Here you go. Mahakahabim anach. My turn. Digleinu ram nachon. Ready? Here you go. Digleinu ram nachon. My turn. Bahayevanim nilchamnu. Here you go. Bahayevanim nilchamnu. Oh, have a typo. Velanu hanitzachon. This should be a ve, not be. Auto correct is always wonderful. Velanu hanitzachon. This section. Here we go. And Mahakahabim anachnu digleinu ram nachon bahayevanim nilchamnu velanu hanitzachon. Final section, same melody as the beginning, which you don't know yet, unless you figured it out. Flower to flower. So braiding a flower wreath is a very Israeli thing to do. And of course, the context of this would have been Greek and it would have been a laurel wreath. But anyway, we won't nitpick. Perach el perach. Zer gadol nishzor. Nishzor is a very special word, which is only used for braiding flowers. Perach el perach. Zeher gadol nishzor. Okay, here we go. Perach el perach, zeher gadol nishzor, lerosh hamenatzeach. The menatzeach is the winner, not the conductor, which, by the way, when I first learned texts of Psalms that began with la menatzeach, for years I assumed it was about the victor. So for the victor, a great song. So in this case, hamenatzeach really is the victor. Leherosh hamenatzeach, Maccabi Gibor, a brave Maccabee. And I know we're going through the text fairly quickly, but I only have 8 songs that I'm hoping to get through tonight. So we have to move along. So I'm going to share this YouTube with you. And you should take into consideration that at the time, this was considered very sophisticated CG. It wasn't C, it was CG, it was photography G, but anyway, here we go. Let's make it full screen. I hope you have your sheets, your lyric sheets with you, and here's hoping that So let's shrink that. Can't stop, don't do that. Yep. And stop share. So I'm assuming that pretty much everybody realized that the composer of that is George Friedrich Handel, who it was part of his Judaeus Maccabeus cantata. I didn't know that for a long time. The song was written, the Hebrew words were written back in 1936. I remind you that we did this in my Hanukkah play in 1961. So, and the words are by Levin Kipnis, who was a very well-respected Israeli poet, wrote a lot of songs, lived from 1894 to 1990. So the following year, we are now in 1962. I knew enough Hebrew because the child mind is wonderful. And so within a year, I was fully fluent in Hebrew and have been ever since. And so I was able to learn some Hanukkah songs, and the following two songs were not only part of my kibbutz shows, but when I went back to the United States at the age of 5 and was put into a Solomon Schechter school in Brooklyn, New York, which we'll hear a little more about. These were also songs that I learned. And when my kids went to Hebrew Day School in Buffalo, New York, an independent Hebrew Day School in the 90s, they learned these songs and they sang these songs. And my nephews in Israel and my husband's grandchildren in Israel also learned these songs. So let's go back to the song sheet. And I programmed a lot of songs because most of them are pretty short. So we started with something kind of wordy. And now one of my very favorites because it's just so sweet. So nerli, 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 dakik. Dakik is very, very thin. And we're always very impressed by how thin the Hanukkah songs are, the Hanukkah candles are, sorry. B'Chanukah neri adlik, B'Chanukah neri yair, B'Chanukah shiri ashir. So the beauty of those candles. So let's go over the words a little bit. Nerli, nerli, nerli dakik. So even though nerli sounds like one word, it's not. It's ner li, a candle I have, which is more poetic than li ner. So hang on. Nerli, nerli, nerli dakik. B'Chanukah neri adlik, B'Chanukah neri yair, B'Chanukah shiri mashir. This is the A section. Line by line after me, the words are really easy. My turn. Let me make it so I can see all of yous. Here we go. Nerli, nerli, nerli dakik. Your turn. Nerli, nerli, nerli dakik. My turn. B'Chanukah neri adlik. Your turn. B'Chanukah neri adlik. Let's do those two lines together with me, because it's a children's song and you all can get it. Here we go. Nerli, nerli, nerli dakik, B'Chanukah neri adlik. My turn. B'Chanukah neri yair. Your turn. B'Chanukah neri yair. My turn. B'Chanukah shiri mashir. Your turn. B'Chanukah shiri mashir. Put the whole thing together. Nerli, nerli, nerli. בחנוכה נרי אדליק, בחנוכה נרי אעיר, בחנוכה שירים אשיר. Now for the B section. The words are very hard. La 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 la. La 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 la. And then they go back to Bachanukah. So this song was written in 1934. I'm going to switch my share so we can go to the YouTubes. Here they are. And go to the next one in line. Sorry, this one has ads. It's hard to get away from them. Okay, and I'm always used to singing the A part again. So let's do the A part again. Here we go. Nerli, nerli, nerli dakik, Bachanukah neri adlik, Bachanukah neri air, Bachanukah shirim ashir. And those of you who were able to read the Hebrew saw that the same poet was Levin Kipnis, and the melody by Daniel Sambursky, and really a pretty sophisticated and beautiful melody for a children's song, almost an infant song. And so the next song was written later in the late 60s, was the closest that I could find. Every first grade Hebrew day school class sings this song. Ideally, it is performed with flashlight in hand, with the lights off, as you go, Banu choshech legaresh, because that's an obligatory movement with this song. Let's go back to the text, and here it is. So, we came to chase away the darkness. Banu choshech legaresh. In our hands, light and fire. Beyadenu or va'esh. Kol echad hu or katan. Each one of us alone is a small light. Vechulanu or etan. Together we are a huge light. Surah choshech. Run away darkness. Hal ashchor. Go on black. Surah. Go away, run away, mipnei ha'or. Oh, Seth has his banu choshech. Yes, this was also a requirement, a little candle headband. Thank you, Seth. That is a very small size. I'm guessing it might have come from a grandchild. Just a wild guess. All right. Banu choshech legaresh. And if you really want to get into the spirit, grab your pretend flashlight, and on that last resh and esh, okay, and then afterwards you go it on surah, run away. First line, Banu choshech legaresh. Your turn. Banu choshech legaresh. My turn. Beyadenu or va'esh. Beyadenu or va'esh. כל אחד הוא אור קטן, כל אחד הוא אור קטן, וכולנו אור איתן. Your turn. וכולנו אור איתן. Here we go. סורה חושך הלאה אור שחור. Here we go. סורה חושך הלאה שחור. סורה מפני האור. All right. Again, not difficult words. Listen once to the song. באנו חושך לגרש, בידינו אור ואש, כל אחד הוא אור קטן, וכולנו אור איתן, סורה חושך הלאה שחור, סורה מפני האור, סורה חושך הלאה שחור, סורה מפני האור. All right, we're going to go to the recording. I'm going to get rid of this and go to here and pause it.
A family vacation in a verbo means leaving all the craziness behind. Well, maybe not all of it.
There we go. Start and pause it. So this is a very different style of video. And you notice that most of them have the Hebrew text. So those of you who have the text, who can read Hebrew, can read along. Being as they are made for the Israeli audience, there is no English translation. So that additional verse was a new verse. This recording, based on the animation, is about from the 1970s, 80s. Oops. Sorry. Oh, I don't know if you can hear it, but it started again. There we go. All right. So we're back to my Hebrew day school days at the Salman Schechter School in Brooklyn, New York, which was the Bialik School, and named for the poet Chaim Nachman Bialik, which meant that we learned a lot of Bialik songs. But the next song is not going to be a Bialik song. The next song also relates to my career performing in school shows. I'm the oldest of 5 children, so my parents had to go to a lot of parent-teacher conferences and a lot of school performances. I know some of you here on this call have that many children and know exactly what I'm talking about. And my mother complained that she could never skip a single school performance because I starred in all of them. And so this was one of the ones that I remember very much, that I was a girl, again, in a house, opening the window and looking out the window and saying, who lit all of these lights, as many as there are in the sky? And so we again return to the poet Levin Kipnis. This song was written in 1922. It's still a beautiful song. It's one of my favorite. And so the words talk about who lit so many candles like stars in the sky, kochavim barom. Even babies know that it's Hanukkah today. Every jolly candle, every beloved candle lights, hints, twinkles. The babies stand around and there is no end to the joy. And this is, yes, one of the videos that I found on a YouTube channel called Shir Ad, or a song, a permanent song, a song that is forever. And it has photographs in the YouTube that were looked to me very, very early in the history of the state, probably even possibly even pre-state. So mi ze hidlik nerot dakim kakochavim barom. So you got two with very easy words. Now we're going to work a little bit harder. Mi ze hidlik nerot dakim kakochavim barom. Your turn. Mi ze hidlik nerot dakim kakochavim barom. My turn. יודעים גם תינוקות רכים, כי חנוכה היום. From יודעים, יודעים גם תינוקות רכים, כי חנוכה היום. So תינוקות is babies, and rakim is soft. So of course the intent is not that the babies are soft, or heaven forbid soft in the head, but tinokot rakim is a Hebrew idiom for very small babies. So even the youngest of babies know that it's Chanukah today, la 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 la, because it's Chanukah today. So let's do this verse. Speaking, here we go. Mi ze hidlik nerot dakim, kakochavim barom. יודעים גם תינוקות רכים, כי חנוכה היום. So singing, listen, and then we'll sing it again together. מי זה הדליק נרות דקים, ככוכבים ברום, יודעים גם תינוקות רכים, כי חנוכה היום. La 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 la, כי חנוכה היום. Ready? מי זה הדליק נרות דקים, ככוכבים ברום, יודעים גם תינוקות רכים, כי חנוכה היום. La 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 la, כי חנוכה היום. Second verse, let's do the words. כל נר עליז, כל נר חביב, דולק, רומז, נוצץ. Which I love this, the poetry of Dolek, Romez, Notzetz. You ready? Kol ner aliz, kol ner chaviv, Dolek, Romez, Notzetz. Hatinokot omdim saviv, vela simcha en ketz. So tinokot, tinok is a baby. The plural of baby is tinokot. There is no tinokim. So even if it's male babies, they are tinokot. Hence, tinokot omdim. Just for those people who say Hebrew is consistent and English is very confusing, Hebrew is sometimes also not consistent. Hatinokot omdim saviv vela simcha en ketz, and then la 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 la, vela simcha en ketz. Kol, sorry. Here we go. Kol ner aliz, kol ner chaviv, dolek romez notzetz. התינוקות עומדים סביב ולשמחה אין קץ. La 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 la, ולשמחה אין קץ. And you notice again, the words for a children's song, the words are pretty sophisticated, and the melody is not all that simplistic either. So here we go back to our YouTubes, and I believe there is no no commercials this time.
מזה הדליק נרות דקים ככוכבים ברום, יודעים גם ילדים רכים כי חנוכה היום, כי חנוכה היום, כי חנוכה היום. לה 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 לה, כי חנוכה היום. לה 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 לה, כי חנוכה היום. כל נר עליס, כל נר חביב דולק, רומס נוצץ, הילדים עומדים סביב ולשמחה אין קץ, ולשמחה אין קץ, ולשמחה אין קץ. לה 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 לה, ולשמחה אין קץ. לה 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 לה, ולשמחה אין קץ. מזה הדליק נרות דקים ככוכבים ברום, יודעים גם ילדים רכים כי חנוכה היום, כי חנוכה היום, כי חנוכה היום. לה 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 לה, כי חנוכה היום. לה 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 לה, כי חנוכה היום.
And I'm sure you noticed some slight differences in the text, some slight differences in the melody. Now, I did not depend on my memory for the text, although that is the text that I remember, but I got the original text from Zemereshet. And so imagine my surprise, the next song we're going to sing is a song that the text is by Chet Nun Bialik, Chaim Nachman Bialik. As I said, the name of our school was the Bialik School. We learned Nachman Bialik, Chaim Nachman Bialik school songs, Chaim Nachman Bialik songs for just about every holiday. And so Lichvod Chanukah, which is Avi Hidlik Nerot Li, which is a very well-known song. I know it for more years than I want to admit. And so imagine my surprise when I found out that not only is there another melody to this song that by Nardi, Nahum Nardi, a very respected Israeli composer whose melody I don't like as well, but a very, and not only that, but that the words that I learned, which everybody sings, are not the original Chaim Nachman Bialik words. And so the words that we sing, some of them are original, some of them are adapted. So I have given you two different versions of the text. The first one we're going to sing to the melody that those of you who know this song are familiar with. And then we're going to look at another version that has some of Bialik's more original words. And you can see the places where you see here where there's no dots is where I copied the words from a site that had not quite the accurate words, that I fixed it, and I don't know how to put the dots in my software. So this has multiple verses, lines repeat and echo. So if you can't get the first time it comes back, you can just echo it. So it starts with my dad. My dad lights the candles with a beautiful shamash lo avuka. Do you know? Now I learned the original words are yodim atem lichvod me, in honor of who, but you notice I wrote yodim atem lichvod ma, because nobody sings lichvod me for who, for Chanukah, like Chanukah is a person. Everybody sings lichvod ma, but apparently Bialik originally wrote lichvod me. So there you go. So my dad lights the candles for me, and my uncle gives me a sivivon, and I don't know why, but it's a sivivon of poured lead. This was apparently a real thing. In his original words, actually he has, my teacher brings me a kirkar, which I couldn't find a translation for, also from poured lead. Kirkara I know is a carriage, so maybe some toy of made out of lead. Of course, we would never do now. And then my mother baked me a leviva hot and sweet leviva. So this is an Ashkenazi leviva. No onion in this one, it's sweet. All right, so let's look at the text. I think I'm going to sing the first verse. Avi hidlik nerot li v'shamash lo avuka. And this line here repeats. V'shamash lo avuka. Yodim atem lichvod ma. Again. Yodim atem lichvod ma. Third time. Yodim atem lichvod ma. Lichvod ha-Chanukah. Second verse, same melody. Dodi natan sevivon li, sevivon me'oferet yitzukah. Repeat the line. Sevivon me'oferet yitzukah. Same refrain. Yodim atem lichvod ma. Second time. Yodim atem lichvod ma. Third time. Yodim atem lichvod ma, lichvod ha-Chanukah. Third verse. Imi afta leviva li, leviva chama umetuka. Again. Leviva chama umetuka. Three times. Yodim atem lichvod ma, yodim atem lichvod ma, yodim atem lichvod ma, lichvod ha-Chanukah. So the recording that I have for this one is a newer recording, and I think you're going to really enjoy this because I couldn't find what year. It was posted in 2019. They don't say when it was recorded, but it takes this lovely little melody that was written in, the words were written in 1916, and the melody is apparently a traditional Hasidic melody, according to Zemer Reshet. And so they take this Hasidic melody, which is of course Eastern European, and they give it a Mizrahi twist, which I think you will enjoy. And I especially thought of my friend Bonnie Kossoff, who is monitoring our Facebook chat. So if you had anything that you wanted to add on Facebook that you'd like shared here, be sure to let Bonnie know. We have secret ways to get the information to us.
לכבוד החנוכה, אבוקה, חנוכה. מורי נתן סביבון לי, סביבון מעופרת יצוקה, סביבון מעופרת יצוקה. יודעים אתם לכבוד מה, יודעים אתם לכבוד מה, יודעים אתם לכבוד מה, לכבוד החנוכה. יצוקה, חנוכה.
מי אהבת לביבה
Yeah, so I thought about stopping this before the instrumental, but I knew you would want to see those delightful, lovely children singing at the end. And Bonnie texted me that indeed she loved this song. So going back to our text, and if we look at the second version, and I did not, yeah, that so composition dates are kind of hard to come by. So the first verse, the same. The second, מורי הביא כרכר לי בין עופרת יצוקה, יודעים אתם לכבוד מי? לכבוד החנוכה. And then here, my mom, אמי עפתה לביבה, but the original Bialik, אמי נתנה לביבה לי. My mother gave a latka to me. This is very archaic Hebrew, archaic poetic Hebrew, right? You would say, Ima natna li leviva, not leviva li. So, leviva chama u'metuka, and again, and then, dodi natan teshura li, again, a word that is not so much in use. Teshura, which I understand to be a gift, because he says, what is the teshura that my uncle gave me? Peruta achat, like a penny, shchuka, one worn penny I got as my Chanukah gelt. So I'm not going to try to teach you this melody because I keep making mistakes with it because it does things that I don't expect. Again, we are back to the Shir Ad with this wonderful, very old performance. So talk about now for something completely different. Here we go. And very easily just echo like you did the previous one. The words are on the screen in Hebrew.
אביהדליק נרות לי ושמש לו אבוקה אביהדליק נרות לי ושמש לו אבוקה יודעים אתם לכבוד מי לכבוד החנוכה יודעים אתם לכבוד מי לכבוד החנוכה מורי הביא כיכר לי בין עופרת יצוקה מורי הביא כיכר לי בין עופרת יצוקה יודעים אתם לכבוד מי לכבוד החנוכה יודעים אתם לכבוד מי לכבוד החנוכה אמי נתנה לביבה לי לביבה חמה מתוקה אמי נתנה לביבה לי לביבה חמה מתוקה יודעים אתם לכבוד מי לכבוד החנוכה יודעים אתם לכבוד מי לכבוד החנוכה.
And I guess the last verse was too old-fashioned even for them. The performer is Miriam Yaakovi, who performed a couple of the other songs that we heard from that same YouTube channel, Shir Ad. If you're interested in old, unusual songs from Israel, I recommend, shoot me an email or ask in the chat, and Carol will send me the names. And I'm happy to send you the link. Also, if you want my document, I have all the YouTubes and the dates. Whoa, it's not showing up. Ready, I'm happy to share that. But it's very obvious that this was written in at the time what was called the Yam Tichoni. Composers in Israel in the 40s and 50s wanted to create a new Israeli musical style that was not like the old Eastern European, that was not like the Hasidic and the Russian melodies. And so it has that very much feel. And her accent, if you noticed, if you're aware of such things, you heard her ein and the way that she articulates. So she's obviously was born in Israel and speaks those people who were born in Israel in that generation have a very particular way of enunciating their Hebrew that's very different from people who made Aliyah and later Aliyot, and certainly from modern Hebrew. So we've sung a lot about candles, and so I thought we should do at least one. Oh, let's see, Seth wrote in, okay, Kirkar from, wonderful, thank you, Seth. So if you want to know what Kirkar is, look in the chat, because Seth looked it up for us, gave us all the information. This is why we have additional smart people on this call. And thank you for all the contributions. And I promise whatever I don't get to read now, I will read afterwards, because I will get the transcription. So the next song, again, another Bialik song. And again, the melody by Nahum Nardi, but a little more singable than this previous one. And now we are not going to worry about lighting candles, but we are going to make levivot. Somehow there are no potatoes in these levivot, so which I've never heard of, but here we go. So kemach, there's flour from the bag, and there's oil from the pitcher. And we mix them together because Chanukah is a wonderful holiday. And again, we take oil from the pitcher and flour from the bag. We're going to, and I love this word here, nelabev, okay? So we will latkes, if you will, leviva, nelabev. So we will, it's a verb solely for making latkes, which is a wonderful, wonderful word. So oil from the pitcher and flour from the bag, and we're going to make levivot for the holiday. We will add an egg from the basket and some powdered sugar, and we'll eat all the levivot. And after we eat the levivot, what is there left to do but to rejoice and dance? Okay, so line by line first. Kemach, kemach min hasak. Here you go. Kemach, kemach min hasak. My turn. Shemen, shemen min hakad. Shemen, shemen min hakad. Chanukah hayom. Chag im nechmad. Your turn. Chanukah hayom. Chag im nechmad. I'm going to do the melody because all the verses have the same melody. And this is obviously a poem written for children. Kemach, kemach min hasak. Shemen, shemen min hakad. Chanukah hayom. Chag im nechmad. Here we go. Kemach, kemach min hasak. Shemen, shemen min hakad. Chanukah hayom. Chag im nechmad. Text. Shemen, shemen min hakad. Your turn. Shemen, shemen min hakad. My turn. Kemach, kemach min hasak. Your turn. Kemach, kemach min hasak. My turn. Hava nelabev levivot lechag. Your turn. Hava nelabev levivot lechag. Here we go, singing this verse. Shemen, shemen min hakad. Kemach, kemach min hasak. Hava nelabev. Goes down. Levivot lechag. And then we have a la, 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 la. Second set of verses. Od nosif beitza misal. Od nosif beitza misal. Od sukar dak vachasal. Od sukar dak vachasal. Bo'u lashulchan. Levivot nochal. Bo'u lashulchan. levivot nochal. And the final verse, kvar achalnu levivot, kvar achalnu levivot, ma od lanu la'asot, ma od lanu la'asot, לשמוח ולרקוד, לשמוח ולרקוד. Your turn. לשמוח ולרקוד, לשמוח ולרקוד. And I'm going to go straight to the YouTube so that we can finish on time and still get to my final song. Here we go.
קמח מן השק, שמן שמן מן הכד, חנוכה היום, חג נעים נחמד. לה 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 לה, לה 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 לה, חנוכה היום, חג נעים נחמד. לה 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 לה. La 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 la. קמח קמח מן השק, שמן שמן מן הכד, הבה נלבב לביבות לחג. la 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 la, la 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 la, הבה נלבב לביבות לחג. La 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 la. La 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 la. עוד נוסיף ביצה מסל, עוד סוכר דק וחסל, בואו לשולחן לביבות נאכל. La 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 la, la 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 la, בואו לשולחן לביבות נאכל. La 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 la. La 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 la.
And they skipped the dancing, which is sad. Okay. And so I can't believe I made it. I'm going to get all 8 songs in an hour. And our final song, like our first song, is a melody that you know. And you've probably sung it in English. You might even have sung it in the original Yiddish. And if you went to any of the Binyamin Schechter's Chanukah sing-alongs in Yiddish, he gave the original Yiddish words. But of course, for Israelis, it is in Hebrew. The Hebrew words were written in 1952. Zemereshet has the melody as being folk, but I have a vague recollection that Binyamin had a composer for the melody, and mea culpa, I did go back in and check. So you might know this as, oh Hanukkah, come light the menorah. But that's not what it says in Hebrew or in Yiddish for that matter. And so the word Chanukah means sanctify. And so in Hebrew, Yemei HaChanukah, the days of the holiday of Chanukah, Chanukat Mikdashenu, the sanctification of our temple, which doesn't trip quite as well off of the tongue. Begil uvesimcha memal'im et libenu, laila vayom svivonenu yisov, sufganiyot nochal gam larov, ha'iru hadliku nerot Chanukah rabim al hanisim ve'al haniflaot asher cholelu hamakabim. So light and burn the Hanukkah candles, celebrating the miracles and wonders of the Maccabees. And the final verse, Nitzchon HaMaccabim, we will tell about the victory of the Maccabees. So this song, unlike the English, is not so much about light the menorah and have a party and dance the hora, but telling the stories. Nitzchon HaMaccabim, Nesaper Nezamera, Al Hayavanim, Az Yadam Ki Gavera, they succeeded against the Greeks. Yerushalayim shava l'tchiyah. Jerusalem was reborn. Am Yisrael asa tushiyah. So, and the same ha'iru hadliku. So we have 2 minutes left. I'm going to go to the YouTube. I'm assuming that somebody is posting the Colorado Hebrew Chorale website for you in the chat. We offer these programs for free, but if you feel moved to support our organization in continuing to preserve, present, and promote Jewish music of all kinds, a donation of any size, any amount from you would be much appreciated in this very, very challenging year. So here's our last one. And honestly, I didn't find any recording that I loved, but this was the one that was the least
January 2017.
ימי החנוכה, חנוכת מקדשנו, בגיל ושמחה ממלאים את ליבנו, לילה ויום צבעוננו יסוד, צוף קניות נאכל גם לרוב, האירו, הדליקו, נרות חנוכה רבים, על הניסים ועל הנפלאות אשר חוללו המכבים, על הניסים ועל הנפלאות אשר חוללו המכבים. ניצחון המכבים נספר, נזמרם, על האויבים עד ידם תיגברם, לירושלים לנו הבירה, לישראל השאירו לשירה, האירו, הדליקו, נרות חנוכה רבים, על הניסים ועל הנפלאות אשר חוללו המכבים, על הניסים ועל הנפלאות אשר חוללו המכבים.
There we go. Oh. So thank you, everybody. Anybody else saying anything about anything?
Yes, I would like to have a moment. First of all, Leah, we all thank you. Let's put up our hands and clap and say, nobody does it better. Thank you so much for the autobiographical and geographical and historical information that you shared tonight. It's always a delight to learn something new, and I know many people learned many new things this evening. A bit of a shout out in terms of what's coming up in 2021 with respect to our LChaim programs. Our next one will be on Monday evening, January the 25th of 2021. That Monday night is close to the Wednesday night, which is known as International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the 27th of January, to mark the day that the Soviet Army liberated the Auschwitz concentration camp in 1945. Our presenter that evening will be Cantor Deborah Katchko-Gray of Ridgefield, Connecticut. She will be doing a taste of Jewish music from Sighet. Sighet, which is in Romania, was the hometown of Elie Wiesel, the Nobel laureate and famed author. And Cantor Gray was, in fact, a student of Professor Wiesel's at Boston University, and she has many wonderful musical examples to share from Professor Wiesel for that evening. And the other food thing you should know is that he loved chocolate, not just any old chocolate, but good chocolate. So please check that out. We hope to schedule in February, based on our visit to the mythical Anatevka with Zalem Lotek back in November. We're going to go to a different type of screen and scene, and this will be a taste of Jewish music from Casablanca. The presenter will be Professor Seth Ward. Casablanca was both an Israeli musical and then later recreated as a film. So it is kind of West Side Story meets Ashkenazi and Sephardi tensions in a part of Tel Aviv, which has been since torn down. But the music is outstanding, starring Yehoram Gaon, and we will focus on that song for that evening. I'm so glad to see that there's information about these programs. As Leah has said, we thank you so much for your support. And we look forward to seeing all of you, please God, in good health in 2021. And with that, I'd like to say Chag Urim Sameach. Again, a wonderful shout out to Leah for an outstanding program. And thanks to everybody that I see from coast to coast. It's great.
Chag Sameach, everybody.
Chag Sameach.
Sameach.
That's all.
That's all, folks. Good night.